Okay, other factor that affects the microbial population is the composition of soil microbial loop. So what does soil microbial loop means? So it's actually a connection or a relationship or the responsible that each of the microbes present in soil and what is their function in that soil. Okay, soil insects and nematodes ingest and decompose plant litters into smaller size, right? And then bacteria and fungi will further decompose organic matters into simpler form. Okay, and these microbes are preyed upon soil protozoa. So the protozoa will actually eat up the microbes, small microbes, and then the protozoa is actually the food for insects and nematodes, and then bigger animals will eat all these nematodes and insects. Okay, so yeah, this is an example of the soil food web or soil, the microbial loop. Okay, so soil, insects and other animals, okay, such as nematodes, earthworms, they contribute to the organic matter transformations in soil. So how they contribute? So these organisms will actually carry out decomposition and often leading to the release of minerals, and they physically reduce the size of the organic particles such as the plant litter. So these organisms will eat up the plant litters, chop it off into small particles, okay? And that small particles means it increases the surface area and makes these organic materials more available for the bacteria and fungi to eat, all right? And then the earthworm, okay, the worm, mix the substrates with their internal gut microflora and enzymes. So the earthworms will eat up things, and then they will mix up all the substrate in their gut by the act of the microbiome, okay, gut microflora, and the enzymes, their enzymes. And this process contributes substantially to decomposition and has major effects on soil structure and the soil microbial community. All right. On the other hand, so degradative enzymes released by the plants, insects, and other animals do not diffuse away rapidly in the system. So, okay, we are not only relying on the biological organism, the organism, but it's also involved the enzyme that is produced by the plants and also animals and insects, okay? So this enzyme contributes significantly to the biological activity in soil ecosystems. So this enzyme, mainly the hydrolytic enzyme, will help in the degradation reaction, okay, such as proteolysis that degrades all the proteins, the building block for organisms. And then we have catalase, and then peroxidase activities also help in the formation of the nutrients and so on. So it helps to produce food for the microbes in the soil. So you can have a look at this soil food web glossary. So we have, the different microbes and what are their function, as well as the function, the other function. Okay, either they are mutualist or commensalism. Okay, so those are the things also that you need to remember, to know, to identify what are the function of each microbes in the soil. in that ecosystem. The other factors is the carbon and nitrogen ratio. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, so carbon and nitrogen is two most important uh, compounds for the food, and that supports the growth of fungi and bacteria. Okay, so even though a high proportion of both fungi and bacteria are decomposed in the soil, okay, these organisms degrade plant residues differently and have different roles in the recycling of nutrients. Okay, the presence of these fungi and bacteria is different based on the different types of the organic matter that they consume. So where the habitat is different. Okay, fungi are generally much more efficient in assimilating and storing nutrients and bacteria. So one of the reasons for this is the higher carbon storage by fungi lies in the chemical composition of their cell walls. So their cell walls is made of chitin and melanin, making them very resistant to degrade. So it's very difficult to degrade fungi. On the other hand, bacterial membrane mainly composed of phospholipids, which are rich in energy, but they actually easily degraded, quickly degraded, and can be functioned as food source for a wide range of other organisms. Okay, so the different proportion of nitrogen and carbon, or carbon and nitrogen, the different CN ratios of the bacteria and fungi, the composition, play a role in the mineralization and immobilization process of nutrients in the soil. So due to their structure, bacteria and fungi structure, and the carbon and nitrogen ratio, fungi need a greater amount of carbon to grow and reproduce, and will therefore collect the required amount of carbon available for these from the soil organic matter. Bacteria, however, have lower carbon and nitrogen ratio, okay, and a higher, and therefore higher nitrogen requirement is needed, and bacteria take more nitrogen from the soil for their own requirement. So in addition, the dominance of either fungi or bacteria also depends on the quality of the plant residues. Okay, important aspect of plant residue quality are the substrate nature, substrate structure, okay, the CN ratio, and the cellulose content. So the next factor is the redox potential. So the reduction and oxidation potential is the tendency of compound whether to oxidize or reduce the substrates present in the soil. Okay, so the redox states of the soil will determine what type of microbial process that will occur in that soil. All right. For example, if the redox potential of the soil substrates is at plus values, so that means it will perform oxidation, and then the type of organism present are the aerobes that do aerobic respiration, okay, and the negative value means the reduction, okay, those anaerobes and sulfate reduction microbes are preferable to grow in those conditions. Okay, the last two factors are the microbial population depends on the either soil pores and the soil texture. Okay, in unsaturated soil, there will be less water, so microbe exists in a non-uniform patch-like distribution, and that means resulting higher microbial diversity as compared to the saturated soil. Okay, so the unsaturated soil contains more soil pores, okay, because they have less water. Smaller pores, um, space, smaller pore space will actually prevent protozoa access, bigger microbes, and therefore protecting protecting bacteria from being eaten by the protozoa. Where, on the other hand, larger pores, will actually drain quickly, um, drain the water more quickly, and therefore less conducive for microbial growth. Okay, cannot contain the microbial, the microbes. So these are, the different index of the pores, soil pores, okay, and the types of organism that they can contain. All right, larger pores, of course, they protozoa and higher or bigger organism will grow, whereas smaller pores will only retain smaller organism. So, yep. The last factor is the soil texture. So all soil contain microbial communities. Oops. All, sorry. So all soils contain microbial communities regardless of the soil texture. Okay, so however, soils with mixture of sand, silt, and clay particles will normally offer more favorable habitat for organisms because they have more nutrients and provide better water and airflow than to only pure sands or clay. Okay, less diverse environment, less microbes present. So microbial communities found in pure sand or clays are lower in numbers and activity. Okay, so the more variable, the more diverse condition of different types of sands or soil in a particular soil environment, it favors lots of more diverse organisms.